Welcome back, viewers. Our focus continues to be on the developments that are happening in Middle East and as tensions escalate. Iran has significantly escalated hostilities with Israel by launching around 180 missiles into Israeli territory. This is the second major attack from Iran this year, following a similar operation in April that has involved hundreds of missiles and drones. Israeli military officials have confirmed the attack, stating that while the immediate threat has passed, the full extent of the damage is still being assessed. With these tensions are now at peak in the Middle East, as this attack has come after Israel had landed a series of devastating blows in the recent weeks against the leadership of Hezbollah in Lebanon. It then ratcheted up the pressure on the Iran-backed terrorist group, which has been firing rockets into Israel since the war in Gaza began by launching a limited ground incursion in the southern Lebanon. While the Israeli military intercepted many missiles, there were isolated impacts in central and southern Israel. Meanwhile, Israel has sharply reacted to these attacks. Israel has said that Iran has still not learned the lesson and it will have to pay for the consequences. All right, viewers, joining me at the broadcast for in-depth understanding of the conflict that's brewing in the Middle East is Arnold Roth, who's the chairman of Malki Foundation, and Nina Slama, who's the India-Israel relations analyst. I appreciate you both joining me on the broadcast and thank you for speaking to Newsx. At this given point of time, I'll first and quickly get a word from Mr. Arnold. Sir, at this very critical juncture, what we can understand is that the world is looking at to restore the peace that has been highly disturbed by the ballistic missile attack, and it has only escalated the tensions further. You know, at this given point of time, there is of course the larger interest within back home in India as well about a lot of projects that are underway and how it is also hitting the global economy. As per your understanding, you know, what is the number one concern that we can put all our minds to, you know, at handling at this given point of time?
It's a fine way to get into the discussion. We don't see it from the perspective of my family and me, because that's all I speak for. I'm not from a think tank or any university, as a battle for survival. The Hezbollah war with Israel, like the Hamas war with Israel, like the Houthi war with Israel, this is all part of something much larger. And I don't need to get into the politics of it to state the obvious, that there's a great deal of hatred and desire to see the destruction of Israel, and one battle or another doesn't change the direction. It's clearly going in the same direction already for decades, and that is a passion on the part of certain players, in this case Iran is the central player, to see anything, any damage, any harm, any destruction that could be brought on Israel to be done right now. And if it doesn't work today, then they'll try again tomorrow or next week or next year. So survival is the answer.
All right. What I can understand, you know, so far about the developments that we are tracking very closely, in fact, you know, Ms. Nina, in fact, this is a crucial time as Israel-India ties are also concerned. You know, how do you view India's stand at this given point of time? Should India be intervening as a pushy peacemaker at this point of time, because all eyes are there also at the interest of the Indian side? You know, we have spoken to experts and analysts before than that, and what they have been advocating for, that India does play a crucial role, and why India should in fact be coming ahead and advocating for peace and dialogue is also going to help giving a breakthrough to this entire crisis.
Yes, so thank you for having me. India is already conducting a policy of a multi-aligned policy in order to bring together countries to cooperate and restore peace and stability in different regions in the world. We know that Prime Minister Narendra Modi unequivocally supported Israel in its war on terror and called for all sides to remain come and to restore the peace and stability in the region. But unfortunately, Israel is still threatened by state and non-state actors in West Asia. We're talking about Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, Iran, the Houthis in Yemen, and also Shiite militias in Syria and Iraq. And we also have the West Bank, where supporters of Hamas are always trying to undermine Israel's stability and national security.
Correct.
So India could play a role in restoring the stability of the region. And we can discuss, for instance, about the IMEC project, a project that followed the Abraham Accord that was signed in 2020 and wanted to build bridges of connectivity between different countries in the region. We're talking about India, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, and the European in different European countries in order to bring to stability and make sure that the human security aspect of life could be achieved.
Ms. Nina, also you have in fact laid importance on the fact that how India is in fact going to be an important peacemaker. But when we also understand about what's happening at this point of time, is it very crucial for India to in fact now act as a good friend for Israel? Because this is now a situation which is now entering into a very worrying, a very concerning state. We have spoken to many people who have in fact also been a part of receiving the suffering at that end, and how civilians are being displaced is also another concern. So from India's point of view, how crucial and what are the key steps that India in fact can take now to advocate even harder for peace?
So it is true that the war is still ongoing and Israel is still on high alert for now. So Israel is always seeking for different partners that could, first of all, restore the peace and stability of the country. When there will be peace and stability and a kind of restoration of the stability in the region, we can go into the negotiation table and see how we can restore the situation in West Asia. But for now, Israel is combating for its survival, as Mr. Roth mentioned, and it is very difficult to discuss about peace and a kind of restoration of the situation when there are still thousands of missiles that are fired from different fronts to the state of Israel. So for now, what Israel is doing is making sure to tackle different threats that are coming from different fronts. And afterwards, we will be able to discuss about peace and, of course, collaborate with partners who are willing to restore peace and stability in the region.
Mr. Roth, how do you view these comments that Ms. Reena, my other panelist, in fact, has made? Do you agree and or do you differ in this regard?
Oh, I think we've heard only common sense. It makes a lot of sense. Israel is, in a very large, to a large degree, isolated by alignments of countries that seem to react because of factors that are never really articulated. Some of it is bigotry and hatred. Some of it is the will to collect more money from the parties who are willing to give money. Some of it is more obscure issues, but they all come out as to put together a difficult situation that confronts Israel at the United Nations, at other international forums, in the International Court of Justice, and so on, and also in the media. None of that should ever, and probably my colleague Nina here will agree, should not affect any decisions that are taken by Israel. Israel needs to do what is fundamental to Israel's own needs, which is, first of all, to ensure that we wake up tomorrow. I speak here much more as a father and a grandfather than as somebody who knows more than any other person in the conversation, which I certainly don't. I'm a father of children living here and of grandchildren, and we've experienced at the hands of the Islamists extremely painful experiences which make us similar to many people around us and which create a set of expectations. My daughter was murdered in a pizzeria. She wasn't a soldier, she was 15 years old, and the woman who murdered her is still free, living in one of our neighboring countries, Jordan. It's impossible for a father to reconcile himself to the absurd way in which justice is not done because it happens to suit the larger political interests of this or that country. And then the father of two of my grandchildren was killed just some months ago serving in the Israeli army in Gaza, again at the hands of Hamas. It's hard as an Israeli not to see the world in black and white terms. It is not that we think we have a different political agenda. It is that we believe we are right and they are wrong, that we are good and they are evil. These aren't popular words. It's not a simple task to convince other people that this is how they ought to look at things, but it doesn't really matter. This is the way we look at things. This is the way I look at things. And if other people reach different conclusions and decide that for this or that reason they have to have an alignment with Iran or with Yemen or with whoever it might be, if that means continuing the extremely precarious existential danger facing Israeli society, then it's wrong, it should be defeated, it should be opposed. And I'm pleased to say, at least to the extent that I see these things, that India is on the right side of this issue, understanding the dangers that confront Israel and doing whatever it can in international forums to stand with Israel. I think that this is something most Israelis know about and very much appreciate.
Mr. Roth, also, you have in fact suffered on a personal level as far as this tension and this escalation is concerned. But understanding from your point of view would be a better approach of decoding the kind of crisis that we are witnessing at this point of time. What exactly do you feel is going to be expected in the next 24 to 48 hours? How should be the developments now understood in the right context? Is what exactly should be the kind of focus on understanding about the right thing that needs to be done?
Excellent. A simple question and a simple answer. Israel has to move towards victory over the people who have brought destruction and death, not only right up to the door of the apartment where I live and where every other Israeli lives, but also right up to the door of the people among whom they, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthis live. The will for destruction, and it doesn't matter whose destruction, among their forces, among the people who subscribe to their ideology is unlimited. It is a shocking thing. There is no way you can appease people whose goal, whose passion is to see you dead. What we need to do is to make sure that they fail and that we prevail. And that means that Israel, I sincerely hope, will be pushing back fiercely, forcefully. I have children in the military. I want to see them be as effective as possible in ensuring that there is no follow-on to what the Iranians brought to our homes last night. Barrages of rockets. This is impossible. There is no compromise that you can make on that issue, nor on any of the other issues. They don't want peace. They don't want territories. They don't want a larger city to live in. They don't care about the lives of their own people. They want death, and we should resist that by every possible means.
But Iran, in fact, has also, retaliated to these attacks. And at this point of time, this is in fact very crucial to understand how the UN security meeting has also been convened on an emergency basis, and calling for a ceasefire is being proposed as a next step that can be taken in the right direction. Ms. Nina, coming back to you on this very front, that as the Iran's military leader says that they have avoided civilians, however, in fact, there are bases where these Israeli civilians have been targeted, but there are also reports showing how damage has been done at that front as well. Now the UN security meeting being convened at the emergency basis, in fact, does seem to have a kind of impact that's needed for an immediate basis or not, is the question that I want to put forward in front of you right now.
So Israel is always ready to extend its hands for peace, and we see that it has done so with different Arab countries, such as Jordan in 1994, and before with Egypt in 1979, and most recently with the Abraham Accords in 2020. So Israel is always ready to collaborate and restore peace and come to the table of negotiations. But for now, what is happening is that we are still under attack. And as Israel's national security is still undermined, it is very difficult to discuss about the ceasefire. And if we're talking about the Gaza front, we still have hostages there. And we wanted to get into a kind of negotiations with Hamas, but Hamas always declined all proposals that were made by Israel, the US, Qatar, and other partners who would like to restore peace and would like to bring to a ceasefire, because it is affecting civilians in all sides. But what is tragic is that these terrorist organizations and these terrorist states do not care about civilians, not only Israeli civilians, but their own the civilians as well. They are using them as human shields, turning civilians' infrastructures into legitimate targets, firing from their missiles, attacking from mosques, from hospitals, from UN infrastructures, Israeli civilians, and Israeli militants. So for now, it is very difficult to discuss about the ceasefire when different state and non-state actors are still attacking Israel in different fronts. Of course, Israel would like to restore peace and bring back all their hostages and to bring to an end to these confrontations and this war. It's being a year now. But unfortunately, we are conducting this war against barbaric, uncivilized, and people that would like, as Mr. Roth said, destroy Israel. They are not only declaring it, but it is also part of their policy. They would like to see the destruction of Israel, and they do not want to go into a peace process as many countries believe. And this is what is important to understand. And as Mr. Roth said, we don't talking about a territorial issue only, but it is an ideology, an extremist ideology that they are conducting for years. And they would like to maintain and achieve their goals in the stand. And this is something that Israel and the civilized world cannot tolerate.
All right, Ms. Nina and Mr. Arno, thank you for speaking to Newsx and giving us your time. We appreciate you both for giving us your insight and, of course, your opinion on how the tensions that are brewing in the crisis zone, in fact, is now escalating. Moving on, viewers, now tensions have soared in Middle East, and at this point of time, after